Hello and welcome to On the Kerbs IndyCar. I am one of your hosts, Thiemo Albers-Daly, and Nate and I are back for part 2 of our 2026 IndyCar preview. We hope you enjoy.
We've got several new tracks that we've raced at before, and 3 that are completely new, and one that was just announced and we really don't have any information about. So obviously Phoenix Raceway, we've got race early in the season there. That's going to be a really fun one. Looking forward to that.
I've never seen a race there with IndyCar. I've not gone back into the archive to have a look yet, but I'm excited for it. Like you say, it looks good from what I've seen testing so far, so I'm up for it.
Yeah, it's a unique layout on that track, which I've always felt raced like a little tiny Pocono. Yeah, three turns that are unique, and obviously not the it doesn't have the problematic history that Pocono has. We've talked about that on the program before, which I do not care for Pocono, but Phoenix definitely is a cool racetrack. Always produces great racing, and really glad to see it back on the schedule. That's a doubleheader with NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series this season, which is going to be cool. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we get a late driver announcement. We get one of these IndyCar drivers in a Craftsman truck.
I'd be up for that. Definitely. I think I'm quite enjoyed the truck series with NASCAR. I think of the 3 of them, it's weirdly the one I enjoy the most. So that's a perfect weekend. It's already there, and I'm just going to have to check that there's nothing else planned so I can fully lock in.
If I remember correctly, I think I read where Dario Franchitti is going to be in that truck race.
I think I read that also. I think this wasn't just the same fever dream that we had.
Yeah, right. But it was announced earlier last year that we were going to have a race on the streets of Arlington, Texas. Which
not sure how that's going to go.
When it was first announced, I'm like, it's kind of a strange place. We could just go race at Texas Motor Speedway, but track layout looks like it's going to be okay. Better than the 3rd race on the list, the streets of Markham. Yeah, we've talked about this. I
can't wait for that to be your new favorite.
That is, I really hope that doesn't become
coming later in the season. Would you rather, gun to your head, have to watch a race at Markham or a race at Thermal Club? And I can't wait to see you squirm to figure out which one is the preference.
I mean, I feel like Markham has to be better than Thermal Club, but it remains to be seen. And we got announced here just in the last couple of weeks, the race in Washington, D.C., which...
Yeah, the Freedom 250.
The Freedom 250. And, logistically, I have no idea how they're going to pull this off.
You have no confidence, do you?
I have no confidence. Now, I'm making plans to attend that race. I've got my brother and family live in Washington, D.C., so it'll be nice to take his kids to an IndyCar race and let them enjoy what I get to enjoy all the time. And so looking forward to it from that standpoint. It's
every other standpoint remains to be seen because we have absolutely no idea. It's just been announced we're doing it. It's in August. Go for it.
Yeah, we only have 7 months until the race, and we don't know the layout yet. And
we just put up some crash barriers. It's fine.
And it's not like Washington, D.C. is Markham, where it's a suburb and you can put up some barriers around the bus and train station and make a street course. This is downtown Washington, D.C.
I can say I've not heard the sentence where Washington, D.C., the Markham of the U.S. I've not heard that sentence bandied about too much.
But they're racing at the National Mall, which, being not from America and never been to Washington, D.C., to kind of give you some details there, this is a large area right as you go into downtown Washington, D.C., where there's a lot of memorials. Washington Monument, Lincoln Memorial, Jefferson Memorial.
I'm hoping the camera work at the very least will be good, even if the rest of it's a bit sketchy.
The background of the race will be spectacular, no matter what the product is on the racetrack. I drew out a map, a potential map, and sent it to you. And I think, there's potential there. it's going to be tight. I've been to the National Mall many times, and uh, we'll see. It's not going to be a Belle Isle, but I think picturesque nonetheless. Now, I
I
have
just
a
won't be
trivia.
surprised if we see the podium
Yeah,
in front of the White House. I won't be surprised
yeah,
if they have to go the extra mile just to get that for the
yeah.
photo op, if nothing else.
That's right. Now, you always know I love asking trivia questions. I've got two
Yes, I
trivia
saw this on the
questions.
show notes,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I'm quaking.
I've got two for you. This is the first one. Um, the National Mall um, prohibits the uh, the sale and possession of alcohol. You are not allowed to have
Okay.
alcohol at the National Mall. It is against the law. What was the last IndyCar race where they were not allowed to have alcohol?
Now, immediately thinking of, was there an IndyCar race during Prohibition? Because if it was after that, I'm going to struggle. So
Now,
am I hot or
there,
cold with that initial point?
you are on the right track, and there are two potential answers here.
Both helps and doesn't help at the same time. I commend you for being able to do that to me. Um,
But there are about 70 years difference between the two answers that we can have.
oh geez, I'm screwed already so badly. Um, no alcohol. I'm trying to think where they would have that as
Now,
a
this doesn't
thing.
necessarily mean that people didn't have alcohol
Well, no, of course not.
if they
But
snuck it into the track.
they weren't legally allowed to have it.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I would be blindly scrubbing in the dark here. Prohibition was as much as I had.
So prohibition, you are on the right track, and that is one of the two acceptable answers. So in 1933, at the tail end of prohibition, the race September 9th at Syracuse, New York State Fairgrounds would have been the last IndyCar race during
Definitely
prohibition.
would not have picked New York.
Now, the other answer, I did a bunch of research trying to find the answer to this, and even Google AI is like,
And say if you had to have trouble with it, then
maybe
I
this
stood
is
no
the
chance.
answer. And it's kind of fitting. I'm actually recording in Orlando right now on a business trip, and there used to be a IndyCar race here at Disney World. Disney World had their
What's the
own
host?
racetrack. Um, it was built in conjunction with the Holman family who used to own the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Um, the Walt Disney World Speedway here in Orlando had IndyCar races from 1996 through 2000. And
I'm guessing because it was Disney.
because it was Disney, this was before they allowed alcohol sales at Disney, and you weren't allowed to bring alcohol either. Now, Google has kind of been fickle on trying to give me the right answer on this if they allowed alcohol
Googling a
sales because
snitch.
it was called Walt Disney World Speedway, but it was built by the Holman family, and I don't know whether it was technically considered uh, a Disney property at that point. The racetrack is now the parking lot for Magic Kingdom, so they they didn't race
That's
very
something I have
long
to stick
there.
on a quiz one day.
But uh, from what I could find, you were not allowed to bring alcohol to the track, but I couldn't find any definitive answer on whether you could buy alcohol at the track. Um, so
I'm
yeah,
glad I
I just
just
thought that
managed
was.
to scrape through that on Prohibition because I definitely wouldn't have guessed Disney
I
there.
just, I just,
So,
I did more than enough research. I just wanted to throw that tidbit in there. I thought that was
well, I
kind of funny.
appreciate
So,
we've also got the first neat teachers team about IndyCar lesson of the year straight out of the way. So I'm going to bottle that in some separate thing maybe.
so, let's get into some news. We got a good amount of news to get into.
Yeah,
Arrow,
we've got a little bit to just whisk through there, and I think
yeah,
we've yeah, surprising amount because I think we had a couple of episodes at the tail end of last season where it was just news, and then it went a bit quiet, and then the last week or so it's picked up again, and we're like,
right,
damn,
yeah,
we're not going to get
yeah.
away with this.
Arrow McLaren has moved into a new to them headquarters, we'll say, here in Indianapolis. They
Hmm.
moved into the former Andretti Global building on the northwest side of Indy, which surprising when I was reading the article on this. This new shop, the old Andretti shop, is 3 times the size of Arrow McLaren's old shop, which blew my mind that Arrow McLaren had such a small shop.
And also just that, well, that was the thing. You think, did they have a small shop, or was it, or how big was it in comparison? How big is Andretti Global's just generally, Because
Yeah,
you think Aaron McLaren, you think, well, they kind of had a tiny place to be operating out of. So, by either way you measure that, it's massive.
yeah. Now, when we say a small shop versus a large shop, I mean, uh, Andretti Global's old shop is 77,000 square feet, which is, to put that in perspective for listeners, roughly the size of a small Walmart. So,
I've never seen a small Walmart.
still a huge building, with plenty of space. But even, Arrow McLaren's old shop was 26,000 square feet, 27,000 square feet, which a third of the size, but still
Cozy.
a, a big shop. I mean, I've been in Chip Ganassi's shop here in Indianapolis a few times, and it's maybe 40,000 square feet. So, I mean, you can run a big team out of a small amount of space. Um, but yeah, so hopefully that's a leg up for them. Obviously, they're moving into something that was custom built for racing.
Mm.
So, hopefully that can let them stretch their elbows out a little bit more.
I wonder what kind of stuff they might be finding as they kind of redecorate and they just find those old boxes or whatever is in there and go,
Pull up the floorboards and find old trophies and stuff.
ah.
But a bit of news that kind of, I don't want to say was a surprise, but Tim Cindric is back at Penske.
Yeah, which I think after last year is a little bit of a surprise in some respects. Surprising but not surprising, but surprising at
Yeah,
the same time.
yeah,
And he's going to be Scott McLaughlin's strategist as well. So
yeah.
interesting. I'm not sure what else to say about it just yet, but it was news that I just saw and thought, that's worth keeping an eye on.
Well, when everything that went down at the 500 last year with, the rear attenuator and the what may or may not have been cheating. I'm still not convinced that they were just the first ones to figure out, oh, we should do
The
this.
controversy at the Indy 500 last year.
Controversy, and they let Tim Cindric go, and I think at the time that was kind of a big shock. I'm not shocked that he's back at all, and I don't think it's going to be. I don't think he'll be the strategist for McLaughlin for long before he's back being.
It's sort of
Uh,
a do your time here for a minute and then we'll
yeah,
want you back up in due
I,
course.
I think a good analogy here would be when back in the '90s when Michael Jordan went to go play baseball for a season.
Yes.
He was really serving a suspension from the NBA for gambling, and uh, he was gone for a
I've
little
just got
bit,
a
and then
sudden
came
interest
back.
in a different
Yeah,
sport. I just want to
yeah,
embrace
yeah,
this. I've
yeah.
got other passions.
Yep. Yeah. Tim Cindric was naughty. He went away for a bit and now he's back. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think this is a long-term position for him with the team. I think he'll be right back on top in the next season or two. But speaking of personnel, we got new team. We talked about new personnel at Rahal Letterman, Lanigan Racing. We got Ryan Briscoe that's on board as a driver coach, which I think is a great hire. I mean, Ryan Briscoe, longtime competitor in IndyCar and Champ Car, and I think he's going to be able to bring a lot of experience to the team. And then Mike Pawlowski is coming on to be the race engineer for Mick Schumacher, which I think is a smart move.
Yeah, I think as we were talking about when we were going through the teams earlier on, they're getting pieces for their puzzle, and
Yep.
it's starting to make more sense. It's sensible choices. It's choices that you kind of get a little excited about and go, okay, yeah, I like the idea, the intent there for that. So I don't really have too much to add on that in particular, but it's nice to see, as we were talking about with Kramer with the teams, these steps that we want to see moving in
Right.
what should
In
be
the
the right
right.
direction.
Yep.
But talking in the right direction. nothing screams right direction than the sequel we've been wanting, which is the most
I,
exciting news I think on this
I
whole
was gonna,
list.
I was gonna turn this over to you to let you talk about because I know this is big for you.
This this is we all want to be racing drivers secretly, but I think I found my calling here at some point for the future. Because after last year's what we can only describe as an outstanding success, and I'm going to try and find some drivers for us to interview at some point if I can. Weenie 500's back, baby.
Weinie 500 is returning for a second year on Carb Day for the Indy 500. Yeah, I mean, this was a a promotional stunt that I think not just America, but I don't want to speak for you, but globally has
Motorsport globally needed it.
yeah, and so yeah, it'll be fun to see what they can do with that again this year. And I don't, I would love to see this become a staple, but logistically, I mean, it has to be, to get six Wienermobiles together all at the same time uh, is a
Outstanding.
outstanding, a logistical fiasco, I'm sure, because those things are spread out all over the country to get them together in one place and then drive around a racetrack. Impressive. And
It's the kind of racing driver dream I can actually aspire to without too much effort. I
that's
can
right.
think about that at any age I could achieve this dream.
uh, yeah,
Maybe that's going to be the culmination of this podcast. It's going to be you
you're
and I, teammates or rivals, in the Weenie 500 in the future.
so yeah, so that's gonna be a fun return. So, speaking of great returns, Chevrolet and Honda are here in IndyCar for the most foreseeable future.
I didn't think they wouldn't be, but it's nice to get
Yeah,
that confirmation.
that
And as
confirmation.
you've tantalizingly put here, could this mean a possible entry if we had like into IndyCar in the future? Boy, do I
Hmm.
hope so, because that would perfectly go with what I predicted last year, somewhat hopefully, that, when Cadillac are up on their feet in F1 and they need to put those drivers somewhere, they could go over to IndyCar. I'd be
Yeah,
much more interested to see Bottas and Perez in IndyCar than I would be back in F1. And then
yeah,
you get to see Colton Herter and someone else in the F1 team, and
yeah,
you're getting the excitement going on that one.
yeah. I think kind of my thought process behind the idea of Cadillac coming back is or coming here is in what 2 seasons we're going to get the Ford Cadillac package in F1. And Andretti is going through unimaginable expenses to get that program put together. And if you're going to go through all that to put together an engine package for that series, it doesn't take too much to rein that package back in to fit it into an IndyCar package. And, um, Ford was a long time engine supplier in IndyCar. It seems like every 3 or 4 years we hear grumblings of Ford wanting to get back into IndyCar, and this could very well be, they're looking at it as okay. Chevrolet and Honda are both willing to put in the commitment long term in this series, and it now has the backing of Fox, and you know the trajectory of this series is definitely on the upward swing right now. And I
If ever
think,
there was a time, you're talking about
yeah,
puzzle pieces being put together for the teams. If you talk about the sport as a whole, this would
yeah,
seem like the right kind of
yeah,
let everyone that's new get their feet on the table, build it up a little bit, but then, as you say, with that eye on bringing them in the future, because at that point the dust settled on a few other things, and it would seem like just a natural evolution. And you're both harking back to the good old days, but also bringing that in with a modern twist and potentially some exciting drivers, because that would be a team that, even if they didn't go for, say, Bottas and Perez, or Herta comes back in that way or whatever, people are going to want to be in that team.
right, yeah. I think the uh, the I don't know the best way to put it. The idea of a third manufacturer coming into a series then puts it on par. It elevates our series to the same level as F1, where you've got multiple manufacturers.
Yeah, I know
You
what
know,
you mean.
in NASCAR, you have multiple,
It gives it a higher status. Not that it needs it, but
yeah,
it gives you that extra level of authenticity as
right.
something that can stand toe to toe with something like WEC
Auth
or F1.
Authenticity. That's a great way to put it. I like that. So we had some unfortunate news in the IndyCar world, open wheel racing world, last couple of weeks. George Barber, who was the founder of Barber Motorsports Park, sadly passed away this past week. And then we also learned that Phil Kruger, who was a two-time Indy 500 starter, passed away as well. Uh, I
I've got
remember,
my own back on you with some IndyCar history here because I got the notification about that and went, excellent, I can read up, or not excellent, obviously it's terrible news, but
yeah.
excellent in the sense that here's a bit of history that Nate might not be as up to date with, so I can have a little look and maybe teach him something for a change.
So I had met Phil a couple times
Damn
out
it,
the
he knows
motorsport.
about
Yeah.
it completely.
So he was a fascinating person. He's one of those guys where, yeah, he raced in IndyCar, but his life away from the racetrack was every bit as fascinating. He did a lot of work with veterans organizations, and that's one of the ways that I, had met him was through veterans organization. And so, um, and then seeing him out at the track and at driver days and things like that. It was always neat to see him. My first Indy 500 was in 1987 that I attended, and he competed in 86 and 88. So one of my very first 500s, he was a competitor in, including, I mean, that was his best year as well. So out there. So but he went on to do some engineering work and mechanical work with IndyCar as well. You got some notes on that?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, he had his best finish in '88 by finishing inside the top 10 in eighth place. His best 500 qualifying performance there as well as 15th. So pretty solid for
Mhm.
an IndyCar 500 entrance, and pretty much exclusively just that. Um,
Right.
and that whole performance overall earned him the Clint Bourne Mechanical Excellence Award
Mhm.
because he tuned this 2-year-old car into obviously what was a solid qualifying spot and then the top 10 finish. So
Mhm.
he did all that, led the crew and the team to forward in that mission, and
Mhm.
it's one of the reasons we love motorsport and why you can have these left field candidates come into the Indy 500 if nothing else, because it
Yeah.
gives you something extra to talk about, a bit of extra spice, and that's why we love motorsport. It's stories like that.
Yeah. Yeah. This was back during a time when drivers weren't just essential ballast in a $1 million piece of machinery. These were machines that the drivers were there with the rest of the team, turning the wrenches, developing a car, you know, figuring out what you could put on a car to make it work better. It wasn't like today where, they're like, here's the engine. It comes in a crate. You have to use that engine. Here's the car. Here's the adjustments you can make on that wing, and there's nothing else you can do. Don't put any glue on the attenuator. And and
It's really want to be very specific about that.
yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, it was back in that era where, the driver was every bit as integral to working on the car as the rest of the team was. Short of getting out of the car during a pit stop and changing his own wheel, they were,
Which I'm pretty sure was it Alonso did that at some point.
yeah, yeah,
In the 60s, I'm pretty sure. I don't know
yeah,
if he did the wheel, but I'm pretty sure he got out and started meddling with the engine and figuring something
yeah.
out.
So, but yeah, two sports members that we lost this last month. So, um, I do want to move one piece of news up a spot. We got some news about a former Indy 500 competitor, IndyCar competitor, Simona Di Silvestro, is competing in the Winter Olympics that are
Yeah,
currently going on,
yeah.
and in bobsled, which honestly, it doesn't feel like too
It's as
far of a
close as you're
stretch.
going to get to IndyCar if you're going to
Yeah,
have to transfer it
exactly.
over to a
If you're
Winter
gonna have to
Olympic
go to
sport.
if you're gonna go to an Olympic sport, then yes, that would be it would make sense that you're going to go into a high speed sport. So she's competing for Italy, which is the host nation. Her two-woman bobsled team finished 23rd this past week, and she's currently competing in the monobob, which is the single person bobsled. Um, luge light, as I call it.
Yeah,
So
I was going to say it's the crossover you don't see too often when a motorsport driver turns up in a completely different sport. But like you say, it's about as close as we're going to get to
yeah,
an IndyCar being in that position. So it
yeah,
makes sense that of all the sport to go to.
yeah. This is my other trivia question for you for the day.
Damn it.
Who was the last IndyCar driver to have competed in an Olympics?
Not a foggy idea in the world. You're just going to have to rip that one off. I wouldn't even know where to start because even if it's a driver that's currently competing, I'm still none the wiser.
It's not a current driver, but you are going to recognize the name.
Darn it.
Alex Zanardi.
Oh, of course, I could have even got
Yeah,
that. Damn it. I knew,
yeah.
that one's
Alex,
the one that annoys me
yeah.
most now. All of
Alex
them.
Zanardi, two-time gold medal winner in hand cycling at the
Yeah.
Paralympics. So
That's going to smart worse than the other two questions from earlier now. Move
I
on,
kind
move
of
on.
yeah. So well, good luck to Simona Di Silvestro and her Olympic hopes. So last bit of news that we have, we've got Phoenix testing going on currently, and
And it's
uh,
already throwing up some exciting potential storylines or teasers for the season,
yes, it
essentially,
is.
because
Yep.
the top three we had on day one, David Malukas, Joseph Newgarden, Will Power, harks back to when we were talking about the teams.
Yeah.
That's just, if that's an
Right.
indication of things to come.
Yeah. When I saw the stats come across after the first day of practice, I'm like, boy, I hope this continues. I hope
And the
this is what.
times between everyone on the field as well
Yeah.
was incredibly small. So
Yeah.
at least for
Yeah. I
that
mean,
race,
yeah.
when we get there proper,
Yeah.
that should be interesting.
I mean, other drivers we talked about even today that, Kirkwood and Pillow finished fourth and fifth in the time chart. So I mean,
But then you
those
have the
are
two Mayor Shanks in sixth and seventh, and we're throwing them the
exactly.
dark horses
Yes.
in there. Then you get
Yeah. I mean,
McLaughlin, Dixon, Rossi in there as well in
Rossi
the
in the
top
top
ten. You
10.
just
Yeah.
go, let's hold station. Let's not get too excited, but it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I'm really excited to see what the second day of testing does. What we find there. Maybe we have a driver that comes out of left field. Maybe Stingray Rob breaks into top five. Who knows?
Uh, well, I'll take it for a segue that we're going to go into for next
Yeah.
because that's about all I can think of for that.
Yeah.
But we've had some of the liveries, official liveries,
Mhm.
unveiled so far for the season. We don't have all of them yet, so this is a bit of a mix and match segment. But for me, Stinger Rob, I'm going to say about him and his car what I say about Alpine at the moment, which is at least the livery is excellent. And I think he's got arguably him and Marcus Ericsson. I kind of like what they've done with Ericsson's car as well on the livery front. I quite like that as the best livery that I've seen so far. Other end of the scale, Graham Rahal, of the ones I've seen, hasn't done much for me, unfortunately, which the beauty of IndyCar releases is that they do seem to change a lot of their liveries over the course of the season. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll get that changed up. But you've got one driver written down here. Is this for
Yeah.
best or worst livery?
Best. Yeah. Best
Okay.
livery. Kiffin Simpson. Man, that Sunoco race fuel livery, just
That did something
that
for you.
blue, yellow, red livery that Sunoco logo on a car, man, it just looks sharp. It just it looks like an old school IndyCar paint scheme. I love it.
We've also got some predictions for the 2026 season, just to kind of get the juices flowing again before we. I don't know if we get proven right or wrong here, or how badly we get proven wrong, but we'll find out for sure. I've gone a bit more left field, which is not surprising to you at this point. So I was thinking, obviously, spoilers, Alex Palou is sort of the obvious contender to go for, and you wouldn't be um, harassed for choosing him,
Yeah.
certainly. And I did want to go for Will Power because I just thought the storyline would be great, or someone else from maybe Pink Team Team Penske, but Scott Dixon, I'm
Mm,
going to go with him. I just think that would be. I don't think anyone's ruling him out, but no one's maybe ruling him in either.
yeah.
And I think that would mean just of all the people to beat Palou, I think it would be quite funny if it was someone else in the same team.
Mm,
And it's sort of there's life in the old dog yet, and
mm,
he won't necessarily dominate, but he'll be sort of you get to the end of it, and maybe there's only a smattering of points difference in it, and you go, yeah, I still got it. I'm still as
you
good
get
as you on the day.
hey, you get Scott Dixon doing Scott Dixon things, and anything's
Ship
possible.
those t-shirts.
I went the very safe route. I had two names in mind. I ended up going with the safe route. My prediction for champion is Alex Palou. Yeah,
Which
just
after last year we can't really argue with why.
yeah, that's a very safe choice. But Joseph Newgarden was the other driver. That was the other name I was really
Interesting.
wrestling with, and I thought, it would be great for him to have like the ultimate rebound after last season. And we know he's capable of winning the championship, obviously, and he's done it in the past. But are they going to have as good a turnaround? Are they going to have good enough turnaround to take down the Titan?
Well, this is where I come into sort of the next prediction as well, as I think I just don't want any one driver to dominate and run away with it. I think even if
Yeah,
Alex Lowe wins, I want it to come down to the last race, and I want
yeah,
there to be multiple drivers in contention. It's not just an outside shot from Pato O'Ward or from Will Power
yeah.
this time. It's really goes down to it, it's neck and neck, and you go,
Mhm.
at least, even if he did win, he not that he's not had to fight for them, but he's really had to fight for it this time in the way that we've maybe not seen for the last couple of years. It's a
Yeah,
different way to win.
yeah. I want to get down to the last couple races of the season and us not have to talk about the how close the point standings between 12th and 15th places. I want to talk about how close first through fourth is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm,
But
I'm I'm with you on that one. But have you got a bold prediction for the year that sort of aligns with that notion?
yeah, so I think uh, my I think my biggest bold prediction of the year is that Santino Ferrucci is going to win the Indy 500.
I did see this, and I'm glad I wasn't drinking anything at the time because there would have been projectiles.
And here's my thought process behind this. This is a
Okay, he's
driver.
got logic.
So
This isn't just
yeah,
something he's cooked up.
Santino Ferrucci has competed in 7 Indy 500s, and he has never finished outside of the top 10.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, no,
that
that was the entirety of the logic. Okay,
that
I
was
was
it.
expecting more.
He's due. He is due for a win at the 500, and obviously with never finishing outside of the top 10 and that big of a sample size, proves
Yeah,
that he is
yeah.
capable of running up front. So, but also
I
I think,
suspect it may be a case of always the bridesmaid, never the bride, though.
yeah, maybe, maybe. But my other bold prediction for the year is this is going to be a very race winner heavy season. We're going to see a
Hmm,
lot of different winners this season. I'm putting the number
I
at
would like that.
eight different winners this season.
I'm interestingly, our bold predictions do complement each other. We can all be right here, which
Yeah.
I like. So I've gone for five different drivers in contention for the title in the final race, which could balance with the eight different race winners
Mhm.
that we get, because that would definitely help make that happen. And while I've not been specific in who would win the Indy 500, I do think, and it does align a little bit with yours, in that we'd get a new Indy 500 winner.
Yeah.
I would love to be bold enough to say that whoever wins it just by getting in the lead on the last lap, or a little bit like we just had with
Mhm.
NASCAR and Daytona. But I'm not going to be that bold. I'm just going to say let's have a new winner.
You're not going to put a
Um,
name to it, huh? Okay.
but in terms of new race winners, you've named one of them already,
Yep. Santino
and you've got
Ferrucci,
one other on your list who won't surprise anyone.
David Malukas. He is going to
He's
win a
due.
race. He he's just as due as Santino Ferrucci. And I think this season being with Penske, I think last season notwithstanding, I mean we kind of have to kind of put that season behind us and
They
say, well,
still
that
won a
was
couple races.
they did, but it was not the domination that we're used to seeing, or at least
No, but it should at
more
least give you a
dominant
bit of
performance. Yeah,
comfort in going, well, even if they have a season like last season, they were still able to get a couple of victories out of it.
yeah.
And I
You
think if
you
you
were
get both of these, it shows proof of what AJ
yeah.
Foyt knew they had on their hands last year.
And you put down three names for new race winners, and
You,
not steal your thunder. One of them was David Lucas. I appreciate you
mhm.
agreeing with me on that. But these other two, I need to hear your logic on. Please enlighten us.
While I was not bold enough to say that the winner of the Indy 500 would win on the last lap, I was bold enough to say this, which is where your questionable nature comes out. I've got
Yeah.
Mick Schumacher down just because I think storyline wise it would be brilliant. I don't know where, don't know how, under what circumstances, any of that. But we've seen some things last year alone in IndyCar. Look at Rasmussen, for example. We weren't expecting that. We saw Kevin Simpson on a podium when we weren't necessarily expecting it. It's doable. And I think
Mhm.
if things are as tight as they look like they're going to be this year, maybe an oval would be a place where Mick Schumacher wins, or maybe it's just surviving the carnage on a street circuit. A lot of the time it is just about being in the right place at the right time and having the capabilities to pull that off. We saw that many times over the last 2 years alone. Never mind if we go back and look at all of your kind of IndyCar experience, you can definitely point to certain races and go, wasn't expecting that. And I
Right.
think Dennis Hauger, it just makes sense. He's dominated Indy Next in such a way that you've got to think that if there is a sniff of a win, he'd somehow find himself in a position to. I think he's more likely to do it in the Christian Rasmussen way than Mick Schumacher is. And I think it's just kind of he just dials in at a particular track and is just kind of you just see he just becomes speed and you go, whoa, where did that come from? And he gets a victory and you go, oh, we've got something on our hands here in the same way that we now think of Christian Rasmussen in a slightly different light.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. We always, when we go into these episodes, we always like, oh, do we have enough to talk about? Are we going to be able to put together, 40 or 50 minutes of talking about IndyCar? And here we are.
Until
You
we
know,
got to the end of the teams and I thought I'm
we're,
splitting this into
we're,
two. We got two
yeah,
episodes right away.
yeah, we got a solid hour and a half in. Um, but we don't have long to wait now for the start of the season. I'm looking at IndyCar's app right now. We've got, as of the recording, we are uh, only 11 days away from the
Until
streets
St.
of St.
Petersburg.
Pete. And I can't be more excited. I'm really looking forward to the season. Sounds like you are as well, for sure. So we're going to be back after that episode, or after that race, with a brand new episode to kick off the season. And we hope to see everybody then.